Better question. Where do people get professional education and professional certifications? Where? College. Better question. Where do people access wisdom? Experience, right?
What's crack-a-lackin', everybody? Money Smart Guy, Matt Sapaula here, hailing to you back in the studio here in Dallas, Texas, here with my co-host, Milton Alvarez, here on episode 7-8. And we got a show for you here today. A bunch of topics here to talk about. You know, the BLT sandwich burgers costing $16+ now. No longer, gone are the $8 days, gone are the $5 days.
Yeah.
Burgers now are costing $16, $18, sometimes $20. And if you throw in DoorDash or Uber Eats, you might have an interesting delivery. We're going to show you an very interesting video here in a second. A former president talks about one of the worst things you can have and look down on is having chubby kids. Will this fly in America today? How much monthly car payment can you afford as a percentage of your income? We're going to discuss that. Also, Candace Owens is saying, cancel porn. Get it done and over with. Get it out of here because it's costing men tons of money. We're going to break down the financial and also the biblical aspects of porn and what it does to a man. Also, we're going to be discussing Draymond Green, talking about the NBA is not preparing its players for retirement. What? Anyway, we're going to cover that in a second. But nonetheless, let's start with the first topic. I ordered a Vitality Bowl yesterday. I ordered a Warrior Bowl, bro, and just inspired by you.
Where from?
From Vitality.
Oh, Vitality.
Bowls.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So it's ACI. How do you say that? ACI?
Acai? ACI.
Right. Tell, man, public high school education here. But nonetheless, Acai Bowl, Warrior Bowl. And instead of it being delivered to my front door, it ended up in my backyard. What am I talking about? Let's take a look at this video here. What DoorDash did to my house just yesterday. Check this out.
This is unreal. They dropped my food out. Holy
my backyard,
moly.
bro.
Holy moly.
That's wild.
What? What?
So if you have dogs.
Yeah.
Welcome to AI and robotics, I guess.
Well, here's the thing, man. That to me was a day of significance yesterday because, you know, we talk about side hustles all the time.
Yeah.
Right? Do something on the side, work full-time job, have a side hustle. Always have a side hustle. A lot of people use DoorDash and Uber Eats as a side hustle. And I just did a quick Google search. Over 2 million DoorDash drivers and over 3.5 million Uber Eats drivers potentially going to be displaced by a drone. Because, I mean, the craziness about me ordering this thing, I saved, so I pay the annual DoorDash membership, whatever that is, like $40, $70. But there's a 99-cent delivery charge.
Yeah.
No tip.
Yeah.
So granted, though, this damn Warrior Bowl, Vitality Bowl, costs $15.
Yeah.
So that is expensive for a
Sure.
damn bowl. So I don't know, bro. What's your thoughts when you saw that?
They've been talking about this since early last year, but it's more along the lines of, all right, so what now for the people who have DoorDash, Uber Eats, Instacart as their side hustles outside of their careers? What's going to happen to them then?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people in my age group who are barely starting off with their main careers, because once you graduate with a bachelor's or a master's degree, you still don't get hired because you don't have the experience for it. So they're still trying to work their way up through the ranks.
Gain experience. Yeah.
Alongside having a side hustle, whether it's bartending, DoorDash, or doing Uber Eats. So now that this is starting to become of an implementation, my question is, okay, cool. Let's say 2 million DoorDashers are completely out of a job. 3.5 million Uber Eats drivers are completely out of a job. How can they pivot? What can they do? still sticking with DoorDash and Uber Eats, what skills can they learn to actually increase their value to DoorDash, to Uber Eats? Now, I see here that you wrote that they have a partnership with Wing. I'm going to assume that's a...
Yeah, so they have a partnership now with Wing. It's a subsidiary of Apple. Excuse me, Alphabet, which is that owns Google. So when you're looking at this partnership, so the pivot could be, do I cross-train as an Uber driver to be a drone operator? Do I cross-train as a drone servicer to service these drones?
Yeah.
But then again, is it an independent contractor type of position? Because people like the flexibility of being a door that can turn on the signal and turn off the signal. But those opportunities with these drones are now going to be less and less and less and less because people are going to be opting for drones. Because even though, here's the truth, the drone took 25 minutes longer than the car.
Yeah.
So it's still kind of inefficient.
Yeah.
So I was it gave me a time frame I was expecting to order. It didn't show until about 15, 20 minutes later. Now, granted, it's across the street. The store's across the street from our subdivision. And the weirdest part, bro, is I'm going to do a full video of how it came into my backyard. But it flew through our neighborhood. It didn't take the streets. It didn't take the path of the roads. It just flew right over our homes, just like an airplane would.
Sure.
At 50 feet.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it just flew right through our homes. And I'm thinking about security concerns. I think who's behind the drones, who can see into our homes, our backyards, and who could take advantage of these, whatever the drone sees.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about that too, as in terms of a security issue. I'm thinking about it's low enough for a bunch of kids here in Texas to take pot shots at it. And that's a safety issue. That's a security issue.
Bring it down.
It takes a kid having a good time with a BB gun, a pellet gun, or even a 22 or whatever, and they're just shooting down these drones just for sport.
Yeah.
Then it crashes into somebody's house, and not only people lose their food, but it causes property damage.
Sure.
I'm just thinking about so many different scenarios about what this potentially can do. But the benefit, though, is to the streets is less DoorDash and Uber Eats drivers are on the road.
Yeah.
So there's less cars. It's less cars because apparently 45% of people in America today use some form of food delivery service.
I wonder if DoorDash or Uber Eats will, maybe not in the next year or so, but in the long run, maybe in the next 5 years or so, if they can actually make this into a remote form of occupation where someone can just wake up, like, all right, I need to make some quick cash, log into their DoorDash app, and just start navigating drones.
That's what the military does, man.
From the comfort of their own couch.
Well, in the military purpose, from the comfort of the base.
Yeah.
Right? You just drive in the base and you can launch a drone attack from somewhere in Las Vegas, somewhere in the middle of the desert, somewhere from a Connex box, air-conditioned Connex box.
Yeah.
But you're operating a drone through a satellite in the Middle East.
Right. So either A, they get extremely advanced where you can manipulate it through your phone, or B, DoorDash sends you, DoorDash or Uber Eats sends you like a old school remote control, where you attach it to your screen TV and you work from your couch on your big screen TV, so you can navigate which way you're headed when it comes down to the deliveries. But I'm assuming also, how I think, was it once a year or twice a year? I'm not sure how many times a year. That little, have you ever seen that Google 360 small like hybrid vehicle that drives around with like multiple cameras in every direction?
Yeah.
I'm going to assume that it's dictated by that as well, right? It has some form of like collaboration, or not collaboration, but some form of is manipulated by that, obviously, because it needs some form of direction, right? Because right now they're utilizing automation. It's automated.
Yeah. Right.
Eventually, it will be able to be in a position where humans are controlling it, which creates jobs. When obviously, then a lot of investors will want to partake in this new innovation. Right. But as you said, I really do think that I don't think it will be in every single neighborhood. I don't think that. I think it might be in the wealthy neighborhoods. It would be extremely difficult for it to be in the city.
But those are the neighborhoods that. Here's the thing, though: the wealthy neighborhoods that can order DoorDash are the ones that really should be, because they can afford it. I mean, DoorDash is not cheap. I mean, if you're making $20, $30 an hour, I don't know, this is just my opinion. Yeah. If you're making less than $30 an hour, you should not be using DoorDash. Yeah. You should not be using Uber Eats. It costs you that much money. You spend more of your time of what you earned to just pay for a $15 latte. And I believe based on the prices, I'm not an Uber expert or a DoorDash expert, but I think they're kind of bumping up the prices a little bit higher on the prices that you order through the app than the actual price when you go to the establishment itself. Yeah. So they're kind of baking in a higher cost because they got to split still with DoorDash. The restaurants still got the establishments still have to split with Uber Eats. Yeah. So I think they're baking in a little bit of their cost into the cost of their onto their food, because I was paying $9 for a damn latte,
Yeah.
a chai latte.
Yeah.
$9 via human being, $9 for it to be door dashed to me, and then after delivery fee and tip, it's $18. So if I'm making $20, $30 an hour, I have zero business ordering from DoorDash, Uber. You better take your butt over there and order from the establishment itself.
So I have a buddy of mine who has a hole-in-the-wall restaurant, and he recently started incorporating Uber Eats and DoorDash to his business. And I ordered something, and I think he noticed that, yo, dude, did you order something from my restaurant? I'm like, yeah, I did. He's like, bro, cancel that order, please. I'm like, why? I can't make it to your restaurant. He's like, bro, I'll personally deliver it to you. Like, just cancel that order. I'm like, dude, it's only like, it's I forgot how much I pay. I pay like $30-something and some change. She's like, you don't understand. Whatever you're paying DoorDash, they're taking more than half of our profit from allowing us to use their services to deliver it to your doorstep, so you get more exposure and get ourselves out there. But we're actually being robbed of more than half of our money. And also, like for example, Groupon, Groupon.com. I booked a massage for myself like 3 weeks ago. The establishment called me directly and they're like, hey, I know this is unethical, but is there any way that you can book through us directly and cancel that Groupon session that you booked, because they're taking 70% of our profit.
Wow.
We only keep 30% of our profit. So these apps and these what do you call them? These services, they're great for us, but for the establishments, it's definitely hurting their pockets.
It's great for exposure.
Yes.
Right? It's great for exposure. I mean, if I remember, Groupon is based in Chicago. It's right there downtown Chicago. I remember Groupon was about to be sold for a 30-some billion dollar company. They declined the offer. They should have sold it at the time, but they didn't. And anyway, Groupon's valuation has gone so low. But I remember was it Thursday or Friday? Everybody's looking forward to an email from Groupon. Yeah. Right? To get some free stuff. But at least nonetheless, they get exposure. That's the benefit of having these types of business. But now, instead of creating exposure, create a dependency. So people are dependent upon ordering from DoorDash. And by the way, you guys are watching this. You guys are listening to this. What do you guys use? Are you a frequent DoorDasher, or how often do you use DoorDash? I'm curious. Put in a comment section below. If you guys are watching us on live chat, put in a live chat. But I'm curious, how often do you use DoorDash? Once a week, twice a week, 3 times a week? If drone services were available, would you opt for drone services, or do you opt to pay a driver a tip? Question being is, what really affects the bottom line for you in terms of, hey, even though you may not want to pay a tip to a drone, but you also don't pay a tip to a driver who's trying to make this as their living. Do you care about it? Do you not care about it? I'm just curious. Put that in the comment section below. And speaking of establishments, this is why certain establishments, even though prices have got astronomically high for simple things such as cheeseburgers and BLTs, bacon, lettuce, tomatoes, why are they so expensive? Jordan, can you play that clip where this restaurant owner breaks it down?
You want to know why your sandwich costs so much at the local restaurant? My friend Dan sent me a text the other day. He was at one of my restaurants. He said, Brian, I just ordered a BLT at $16. You realize it's just bread, bacon, lettuce, and tomato. I said, yeah, Dan, but let me give you some restaurant perspective. In today's economy, my rent is $20,000 a month. My utilities are $6,000 a month. And my labor is currently running about $60,000 a month. That's at 28%. So I'm in for $86,000 a month before I sell a single sandwich. At a 32% food cost, I have about $11 profit in that sandwich. That means I have to sell 93,800 sandwiches a year, or 257 a day, just to break even and make no money. 1.5 million in revenue, and I don't make a dime. That's why your sandwich costs so much. That's a reflection on our economy.
Yep, that's inflation. Food costs, everything costs more money, and people wonder, because the internal cost, people think it's $16. But these business owners just broke down what their rent is, what their labor costs are. But how expensive was labor cost? It was $60,000.
Yeah.
So you put those two together, just labor cost, rent cost. Imagine having to do the math and breaking it down that way. By the way, he just broke down millionaire math. Anytime you're in business, you break down what it takes for you to not only break even, but also start making a profit. That's what we call millionaire math. And so when you're looking at $16, $18 sandwiches, unless something dramatically happens with raw materials, raw goods and services, what it takes for a restaurant owner or a business owner to acquire the raw materials to create their product or service, or in this case, food, don't expect for prices to drop any time soon.
And the only way, I mean, and correct me if I'm wrong, the only way, not the only way, but one of the ways that a restaurant can actually drop their prices is if they reduce their spending in other aspects, which gives them the wiggle room to actually reduce the price of food.
So what have they done? They've no longer hired full-time employees.
Yeah.
Because full-time employees, based on laws that have been passed and policies that have been passed, if an employee works for you 40 plus hours a week, then you owe them benefits.
Yeah.
That's additional costs to the restaurant owner. So you're going to find a lot of restaurant owners today, they hire you for maybe 3-4 days, part-time. Everybody right now is a part-time sales force. So these policies that these politicians are putting in place, they're disenfranchising entrepreneurs to take that risk. Think about this guy. He's putting at risk $80,000 a month just to have a sandwich store. It's not steak. It's not fancy. It's burgers and BLTs. So, and people wonder why the restaurant owner, everybody thinks the restaurant owner is rich.
Yeah.
Right? Rich. Yeah, they're bringing all this revenue, but net revenue after labor costs, after cost of doing business, then they have a net profit. So they put all the risk on there. And so here's the thing. Well, we did a report a couple weeks ago that 46% of all small business owners can't afford to pay their full rent.
Yeah.
This is a reflection of that. So what's your thoughts on this?
I think that's one of the biggest reasons why a lot of people are scared to even consider going into business for themselves.
That's exactly the problem.
Yeah.
It's disincentivizing people to want to take that risk. And that's the American dream, brother.
Yeah. Go into business for yourself. And don't get me wrong. Like, I think I've been on that tail end myself where I'm like, dude, this is, no, hell no. I'd rather just go back and be law enforcement, or I'd rather just go back and figure it out. I've had those moments. I've had those moments of weakness where I'm like, how are people even making it? Because especially when you come from a background of no type of business knowledge and you're trying to figure out on your own, you're getting the mentorship, you're going to the conferences, you're getting into the right networks, and again, when you don't have the right mentors. A lot of people, again, they do a lot of flashy stuff up front, and you see them doing great, amazing, making a lot of money, driving the great cars, having the successful business, the women, whatever it is that drives you to get into business for yourself. You see all that, and there's a level of discouragement because you're nowhere near that. But when you have the right mentors by your side, there's full transparency. Like, look, Joe Schmo, Suzanne Smith, this is where I started, this is where I'm at, and this is the direction you're going to head. You're going to have these peaks and valleys where you're going to feel on top of the freaking world, and then you might have a month where you're completely set off and you have absolutely nothing. And if you're not being financially smart with your budget and your money, this is the outcome that you'll have. But if you don't have the right counsel in your ear, it's going to be extremely hard for you to continue on this extremely rocky path, because it's not a linear path. Yeah. It's a path that really can break you down as a human being, and even spiritually break you down if you don't have the right people by your side.
100%, man. So service-based business, I mean, this is if you're going to find a business to make a side hustle in, the easiest business to find a side hustle in is some form of service-based business, none that requires a lot of inventory. So if you're looking for a side hustle, keep that in mind. Find something that's just service-based. That's why DoorDash was very attractive to a lot of people, because they already have what they need, which is a car. Yeah. For us in the insurance business, all you need is a laptop and a cell phone, things that most people already have. And obviously the gift of gab and having a high value skill set like sales and leadership development. So find businesses. If you're going to find a business and start something on the side, find something that's service-based, something that you have to acquire. Guess what? By the way, I just want to mention this. We just launched our 7 Figure Squad merch site. So if you go to shop, Jordy, if you can show the link there, shop.7figuresquad.com. We just launched some new slides. So if you want to pick up some slides for the summer, ladies, if you want to show your toes, so them tonicures, what do you call that when you do the manicure for the toes?
The pedicures.
Pedicure. You want to show your pedicure off? Tonicure. If you want to show your pedicure off, buy some 7 Figure Squad slides. Go to shop.7figuresquad.com. All right. Speaking of money and things costing you money, Candace Owens says porn costs you money. Do you have a video on Candace Owens talking about this? Okay.
There's actually a video, Jordan. We can skip it to, 4:12, and we can go from there. 60 seconds.
You are stepping into what is becoming a pornographic addiction. And I think that this problem, based on the discussions that I'm having with so many people, is much more abundant than I ever realized, right? In having that backstage discussion that we talked about a couple of months ago, that a lot of people are suffering in their marriages because of this addiction. Kanye West, now known as Ye, being among them. He has spoken openly about how he feels that his pornography addiction that he's had since he was young is something that ultimately ruined his marriage. But because there aren't enough examples of people in this public sphere talking about how difficult this is, there aren't enough men that are talking about how hard it is for them not to take in pornography in their spare time, we keep treating these people like deviants. And I think that we need to stop that. right? And I want to be among the first people to stop it. I want people, especially the men that are listening to the show and the women that write into the show who talk about these problems with me, about how their husbands perhaps have a porn addiction, not to feel like it's dirty, right? It is a true addiction. It is a mental addiction. And it's not going to get better if we keep treating these people like the scours of our society. We need to have the conversation openly and recognize that what is feeding this addiction is that every brand is complicit in this porn addiction.
Yep.
These social media companies are complicit in this porn addiction.
All right. Thanks, Jordan. What are your thoughts?
Well, listen, I remember Kirk Franklin,
Yeah, Kirk Franklin.
a very well-known gospel worship leader, was addicted to porn. So here's where porn comes from. You know, when I was growing up, porn was magazines. You get the Playboys. Your dad's got a stack of magazines in a locker, somewhere in his dresser somewhere, and then we got access to VHS tapes. And now they got access. When I was raising a teenage son, I'd go to my iPad one day. Next thing you know, I see this website they designed. Like, whoa, you can get this easy access to porn. So I learned something about porn and also the addiction, because most men are viewers of porn. And here's why. Because in areas of frustration or areas of lack of communication, lack of processing issues with the other side, or the ability to work on yourself to date the right woman to eventually marry, and then you carry out all your sexual fantasies with your wife, people are resorting to porn. They look at porn, they take their X amount of time to watch porn, freaking jerk off to porn, whatever case may be, to go back to the regular life. But it takes time. By the way, I'm saying all this because there was a phase of my life, that was me. So I'm not judging nobody. And so I know what this path is like. And I was on my way driving down here, bro. I called my wife. I just called her. I said, babe, I appreciate you so much, because you're like my complete replacement. My wife honors me. I honor her. And there's not a sexual fantasy that I don't have today that I can't live with my wife. As it should be. Yeah. I mean, between just her and I, not including other people or other situations. But it's just between she and I, and she engulfs everything. And I'm telling you this, as many times as I've had sex in my life out of the context of marriage and out of the porn that I had experienced in my life, there's nothing to me these days than making love with my wife. It's crazy. And one of these days, bro, the right woman's going to come by your side. I encourage you. Meanwhile, you got to keep it. You gotta keep it tight, bro.
Let's keep praying, bro. Let's keep praying the right woman walks into my life, man. Let's keep praying. But outside of that, and you pointed something out about being in a relationship, in a marriage. One of the biggest issues, especially for the young men who are listening and watching this right now live, or who will be watching this in the future, whether it's a clip or the full episode, you need to understand that it also screws with you mentally.
100%.
On a psychological level, it creates some form of addiction, because of the chemicals that are happening right now through your body, the dopamine release that you have when you're in the midst of that moment. It also desensitizes you, completely desensitizes you from normal sexual stimuli. Now we're talking biology. We're talking physiological standpoints. We're not talking spiritual. We're not talking emotion. We're talking about physiological standpoints. Because when you watch pornography, it's not just watching a clip. Like in the 90s, it was VHS tapes, it was CDs, magazines, Playboy magazines. Now it's at the tip of your fingertips. Now it's on Twitter. Now it's on Instagram. Now you can find it on people use Snapchat for that specifically. It's so easy to access. And if you go back to when you're 15, 16 years old, and I say this very openly because, man, we need to understand this, that this shouldn't be a stigma where we speak about it and it gets really uncomfortable. We should be very free to speak about this and understand that this is something that we need to speak freely on, so we can actually help the people who are in need. When you're 14, 15 years old and you look at a pair of breasts, you get immediately stimulated. Now you're in your 30s, 40s, and you're addicted to pornography. You look at a pair of breasts. There's no type of stimulation to that. So what ends up happening is you look into more and more aggressive pornography. You look into pornography that goes outside, even though pornography is not within principle, it's not within morale. Now it's no longer the beginner level. You keep going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And now you have the psychological factor that's not allowing you to be intimate with your spouse. You're not allowing yourself to understand that's the physical sexuality that you have with your spouse. That's more emotional intimacy versus just a physiological standpoint. But if your spouse isn't willing and open to fulfilling certain sexual desires that you found from a porn site 10, 15 years ago, or even 10, 15 days ago, it's not going to arouse you. And that also creates some form of turmoil within your relationship. And now also on another physiological standpoint, and it could also lead to some form of erectile dysfunction. Again, excessive pornography leads to erectile dysfunction because the arousal becomes more dependent on visual stimuli rather than physical intimacy. And now that there comes body shaming, there comes insecurities, there comes consequences of that, and that can also ruin the relationship that you have with yourself and also ruin the relationship with your spouse. But outside of that, as we know here, as you open your Bible, we also have biblical standpoints.
100%. You know, when we're looking at the Bible, what does it say about sexual impurity? And by the way, this is why I reference the Bible. It's not to throw religion down anybody's throat. It's not to throw Jesus down anybody's throat. It's to have a framework of how to live your life through time-tested values and principles and ups and downs of life. To me, this is a framework if I want to live a moral life, if I want to live a life that gives value to other people, I want to live a life that I find myself happy in, there has to be some form of morality, in this case, discipline, as relates to living your life. And here in 1 Corinthians 6:13, you know, we're looking at glorifying God in body and spirit. It says, food's for the stomach and the stomach for foods, but God will destroy both and for them. Now the body is not for sexual immorality, but for the Lord, and for the Lord for the body. You know, our bodies are intended for the Lord, not for pornography. You know, and I have two little girls that are now 23 years old. And this is a conversation I'm having with them, and I'm having a conversation with my sons, because they're going to be attracted one day to somebody's daughter or granddaughter. And I want to make sure that they honor their future wives, their girlfriends, their future wives, and also want to make sure that they honor themselves throughout this whole process. And more importantly, they honor God in this process, because that's what our home stands for. Me and my house, we will serve the Lord. That's the way we do it. Not to say that everybody has to follow that route, but if you want to live a moral life, you got to find some form of moral break, you know, of foreground to set up your life with.
So coming from more of a moral standpoint, I actually let's go a bit deeper, and let's bring it from a pastoral standpoint. Okay. I actually have a pastor on the line right now who called in, and we've been keeping in contact for these last couple of months.
Great.
And he's aware of our show. He knows who we are. He knows who you are. We've talked about it. 2 weeks ago, we sat down, spoke for maybe about 2-3 hours about life, morals, principles.
Amen.
And so his name is Pastor Rick Gonzalez, and he's from ICF, which is the International Christian Fellowship, which is located in Illinois, right next to near Proviso West High School. He went to St. Joseph's in Westchester, so he's a local.
Zeke was Isaiah Thomas went to.
Yeah, there you go, exactly. So I asked him if he could bring maybe like a 60-second talking point on the specific topic, and he was more than open to. But before we do that, I would love for you to get an introduction with him.
Gotcha. Pastor Rick, how you doing? Welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, guys. Thank you so much for talking about this.
God bless you. And after the show, man, we got to connect. But what's your thoughts on this topic in the meantime?
Well, number one, we have to normalize it. It's such a taboo topic, you know, growing up, and I'm thankful that you guys are bringing it to the attention of all of us. Matthew chapter 5, Jesus is doing the Sermon on the Mount, and I'll just briefly say what it talks about. But Jesus is talking about committing adultery, and he brings this comment, and he says, you know, if you even look to lust at a woman, you're committing adultery in your heart. That's like a dagger to the heart, man, because as men, we know we're visual creatures, and this is something challenging for, I think, all of us. And when we look at it from a spiritual perspective, we're looking at it as, I need to govern my eyes. Just like I need to discipline my life actions, I need to govern my eyes. And something that I feel is important nowadays is that we realize our emotional triggers. And we talk about, well, I was just scrolling on Instagram, and I saw a girl in a bikini, and I resorted to porn. When I was in counseling, going through this for myself and for my own marriage of 15 years now, my counselor gave me an acronym that I just want to share that was really helpful.
Ooh, let's do it.
And it was called LUST. Okay, that's what we're talking about, really. And so it's these emotional triggers that bring us to action. As guys, we love talking about emotions, right? But it's this acronym: lonely, unfulfilled, stressed, and tired.
Wow.
Lonely, unfulfilled, stressed, and tired. And I know I had 60 seconds, so I don't want to take too much time. But these are the emotional triggers that oftentimes lead us into those moments of even being on our phone and scrolling and doing stupid stuff. And so I just want to encourage everybody listening right now that this conversation is a needed conversation for not just us men, but women as well as our children. And, God hates this stuff, man. These are women's and men's daughters that are,
Yes.
that are getting washed and lusted after. We need to hate this. And, we need to hate what God hates. And so I love you guys. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Love you back, Pastor Rick, and let's make sure we connect afterwards, man. But I appreciate you calling into the show and taking interest in providing value here to the podcast. Thank you so much. God bless you.
God bless you.
And that was awesome. Yeah. How many guys remember that acronym? We're going to put it here in the comment section below, later on in the description of the podcast. What a powerful, powerful aspect there. And when you're looking at, when I'm thinking about, if you are following a moral ground and you're following your faith with Christ, and it even says in 2 Corinthians 10:5 that we must demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought and make it obedient to Christ. Now, the thing with you, bro, one question I got to ask you. You're in the field of fitness.
Yeah.
You're around beautiful women all the time, in leggings, shorts, you name it. I'm in the field of finance, where attractive people are attracted to financial services world. How does a man like you deal with that type of situation, and even though it's visually all around you?
It gets old. It gets old. I've been around. Don't get me wrong. When I was 18, 19 years old, getting into it, I was like, "Whoa, this is amazing. This is great. I can't wait to be in this long term." But the older you get, and again, there's a level of becoming desensitized when it comes down to watching pornography, and then it affects you in a negative way. But there's also a way of becoming desensitized where it becomes something normal to you. Yep. And I think in my early 20s, I did experience a season in my life where I just wanted to experience what it was to be a young man who looked who was in decent shape, and he broke, but he was in decent shape and he was somewhat attractive. And I went down that path. Yep. And after, the times that I would, be intimate with these women, yep, it was an extremely empty experience consistently. Yep. And although a lot of guys don't like talking about it, it's a reality. When you lay with somebody, it's more than just a physical aspect of things. When you lay with somebody, it's nice to be able to know that person laying next to you has your back 100%. Knowing that emotionally they're taking care of you, they're praying with you, and they're going to wake up in the morning next to you, and then a week from now they'll still be there, and a month from now they'll still be there, versus just having a one night stand or having someone in your life in a relationship from a trauma bond, or just because there's inexperience from both ends and you guys really don't have a future together. It's just using each other.
I think that's where my biggest attraction to my wife comes. Of course, she's gorgeous to me physically and visually, but she's more gorgeous to me emotionally, spiritually, intellectually. My wife keeps me on my toes in many aspects of my life. And I'm going to break down 3 areas that I recognize where porn affected me in my life. The first one was ambition. Because what does porn teach you? It teaches you instant gratification, short-term success. Right? For lack of a better term, right? Right? And it conditions you to have success right now, to get it done right now. And I need it done right now. That's not what the world of success really builds upon, and then I come across business leaders who say, listen, man, if you do the same thing over and over, the right profitable things over and over, the next 20 years, remember Ed Slott, the CPA, came to our convention, America's IRA expert. He said, Matt, if all you do is do the same thing over and over 20 years, eventually you'll be an overnight success. What? See, that's not what porn teaches us. The second area there is time. We spend too much time watching porn instead of making phone calls, go out there shaking hands. You're off in your own personal area, in your space, and doing your little devious thing. It causes you focus and attention on keeping the main thing. The third thing I would add here too as well is that in terms of your focus and attention, what you think about and what you see about, that's what you'll be about. So what you see about is what you'll think about. That's what you'll be about. So if that's constantly in your bandwidth of accessibility to your attention, your focus, instead of you focus on keeping the main thing, your finances, taking care of your family, improving your communication, improving your skill sets, improving your relationships, you just focus on one 30-second, 60-second, 2-minute video to get your rocks off versus actually spending time with it. Now, I'm not saying this from a judgmental period at all. All I'm saying is this is what I was going through when I realized the sin and the areas of setback that I was going through. So, something to consider about as you process this for anybody that has this type of issue. All right, which leads me to my next topic here. This former president says there's nothing more distasteful than having these type of kids. Now, this is a president of the United States. And as you watch this video, I want you to think about not only what he said, but would that fly in 2024? Let's take a look at this clip.
There is nothing, I think, more unfortunate than to have soft, chubby, fat-looking children. I hope that all of you will join, and everybody in the United States, to make sure that our children participate fully in a vigorous and adventurous life which is possible for them in this very rich country of ours.
Woo! Okay, we can stop there. That's President JFK, man.
Hey, man. Personally, coming from me, and I feel like I can speak on this, and I'm trying to look for a picture. I feel like I can speak on this, even though you guys can't really see it, but let's see. That was me. So what you see there.
You can't open your eyes, bro.
I was 6 years old. This is my kindergarten graduation. And I was wearing my dad's button-up shirt, my dad's tie, my dad's pants.
Wear the long sleeves.
Yeah, because I couldn't fit in anything that I would wear that was kid size or teenage size, young youth, whatever you want to call it. I would have to fit into adult sizes. So one of the things that I noticed now that I'm older, my father's gone, 2016, passed away from cancer. My mom's still alive. Is looking back and reflecting during those moments of my life, because it took a lot of processing, man. I did a lot of work on blocking out those moments in my life. Yeah. There was a lot of bullying happening during that time. But now that I'm old, I'm like, all right, let's figure out why I am the way I am. Hit it.
Do you think that President JFK there said something that was bullying? There's nothing more.
No, it's honest. It's true.
Okay.
Because
so you wouldn't consider that bullying. By the way, for those of you watching, would you consider President JFK's statement bullying?
No, absolutely not. Because my father had that same mindset. Hey, when he would try to discipline, hey, you shouldn't eat that. You're gonna gain weight. Hey, instead of doing this, watching TV and watching Power Rangers all afternoon, you should go outside and play basketball or learn how to skateboard or learn this or learn that. And he was consistently on me, trying to get me to move. And I had one person who was consistently trying to defend me from that form of discipline. That was my mother.
Wow.
So she was the one. Here, eat, and I'll finish my plate. Here, eat some more. Eat some more. Eat some more. It came to a point too where, you know, I did grow up in a household where there was domestic violence and there was a lot of issues growing up. Mm-hmm. So one of my go-to things was food. I would see someone swing or someone yell or someone scream or whatever would happen. I would immediately go into our pantry, grab a bunch of snacks, go into my room, lock the door and hide, and I would just start eating. So anytime I get some form of stress stimuli in my body, even to this day, but now I'm more aware of it, so I stop it. Anytime I feel stressed out, I feel hungry, even though I just ate an hour ago. So now, looking back at that, what my mother did for me was care for me, love me, and protect me, right? All moms want to protect their sons and their children. But that protection led to another form of abuse in my life, which was I was overweight, which then socially, when I went to school, I would get picked on, I get bullied. My confidence levels went through the floor. I would always be picked last for all sports. Whenever there was like Valentine's Day activities in our schools, when February 14, 13, when you go to school, pass out little cards and little candies. I would never get anything from any girls. I've faced rejection so much in my early youth. So now that wired me to believe that no matter who I go to as an adult, I'm going to face some form of rejection. I'm going to get abused on some level. People are only using me. They really don't like me. Yeah. They only like me for what I can give them, because who I am as a person is not likable. Yeah. And that rooted from being overweight. Yeah. That rooted from being overweight. So now you have presidents like this, and now you have people who are influencers, or you have people who are saying, hey, get your kids in shape. Why are you allowing your kids to be, out of shape? Oh, well, they're just kids. They'll grow out of it. They'll join sports and they'll get healthier. And then, or we have the other parents saying, no, but I'm enforcing them to eat better. They just don't eat better, but yet they're eating McDonald's. Yeah. Or I'm telling them that they should do this, and I punish them, yet they're the ones following the bad habits. So I believe that it's also the parents' fault, Matt.
We covered in a previous podcast about the obesity conference?
Yeah,
there's like a obesity gala.
Yeah,
people getting together. So it's. By the way, would this statement fly today? Imagine President Biden getting up in front of everybody. There's nothing worse than having chubby kids, overweight kids. Would that fly today? He gets so much hate. He'd be canceled. He'd be, what do you call that? He'd be impeached. Yeah, like you wouldn't know it in today's. Then, even though he's speaking truth, and one of the things I want to invoke into my children. And I'm glad that a lot of my 3 older kids have it, and Jojo has it, and Jordan's obviously got it, is I just want to instill confidence in them, confidence in who they are. And to see Jojo right now, you've worked out my son since, I don't know how old, we come to work out together with us, and now he's getting bigger, bro. He's getting bigger. He's 13 years old. He's being more conscious. He eats almost as much, if not double than I do. because he wants to get muscles. He's playing football. We interviewed Darren Woodson here at a previous podcast, the tackle leader for the Dallas Cowboys, and he asked Joe, just what position you play? Joe responds saying, dog. I don't care where I play. I'm going to be a dog. It's confidence. It's confidence.
Yeah.
It's confidence. So when you are active, when you're strong, when you are competitive, you end up being confident. So there's nothing wrong here. What I'm saying is make sure we raise confidence. If you want to make kids of impact, you want kids to be leaders one day, you got to make them confident. And so
let me ask you, as a parent, how do you set that example, though? A lot of parents try to discipline their kids while they themselves are living unhealthy lives. And when I say unhealthy, not necessarily food-wise, but financially, habit-wise, and XYZ.
You kind of got to do it yourself, too.
Yeah.
You know, you can't say to your kids, I want them to do it, but me, I just want to sit on the couch and watch TV. Can't do that. You know, what was it? So, for example, on Saturday, we had to get up early. We had close out night. We had close out. And then we had Saturday. We had 8 o'clock meeting. We had fast start school this Saturday. I come home. I got some associates at our office. They want to come see us at our house. We meet them at their house. I come home from fast start school. I'm running around with Jordan. Jordan's like, chase me. He's 5 years old. I'm chasing his kids all around the house. Chase me again. I'm chasing around the house. Finally, I have a chance to eat. And then mess around with the kids again. They want to go to the pool. We jump in the pool. We get out. Okay, national call at 8 o'clock. So I got to be moving.
Yeah.
I got to be shaking and baking. And I'm 50. So if a 50-year-old can get this done and have this happen, what am I setting the precedence to my kids too as well? That your dad ain't no slouch. Your mom ain't no slouch. Yeah. Our family ain't no slouch, because we want a name that's respected and admired. When we walk into a room, we just want to be one of the people in the room. When we walk into the room, we want to make sure that we walk into it because we're creating impact into that room in a positive way.
100%.
Yeah. Car payments. You almost made me go off on a tangent there. So parents, please lead the way. All right. Next one here. The car payment affordability. People often ask, hey, Matt, listen, I'm stressed out. How much can I afford for my salary? What can I afford? I found this video here to help you guys out. Let's watch this video on car payment affordability.
How much car payment can you actually afford per month? We got 4 terms, $1,500, $3,000, $4,500, and $6,000. This is your post-tax, i.e. take-home amount per month. So if you have a $1,500 take-home monthly income, your payment max is $225.
Done.
Now, if you have a $3,000 a month take home, your max payment cannot exceed $450. And if you got $675 at $4,500 and $900 at $6,000. Now, do you know what those all add up to? They add up to 15% monthly payments to income. So if you are...
So there it is, 15%. So 50% of your take-home pay should be allocated for car payment. In my opinion, it should be less than that, because you want to make sure you have a car payment that feels like a daggone cheeseburger, a $16 BLT, which we talked about earlier, because you got maintenance, you got car insurance, you got gas. These 3 things have also accelerated in terms of inflation and whatnot. And oftentimes, we just covered this on a previous podcast too, so we get a lot of views on this one, why you shouldn't buy a brand new car. You should buy a used car 4 or 5 years depreciated, so therefore the payment is less. And by the way, I don't want to dissuade you too as well. Ideally, you should buy a car cash anyway, because it's a depreciating asset, because you're financing something that's appreciating in cost, but depreciating in value. It's a bad combination to your net worth.
Okay, let me ask you. If you currently have a car payment, not you, but anyone currently has a car payment, and they got a nice bonus check, or they got some capital where they can actually pay it off, would you recommend paying it off or keeping it as a revolving credit source?
That's a good question. If I'm not in business, if I'm not an entrepreneur, obviously, if you're not an entrepreneur, you don't have a side hustle, pay it off. Sad part about that move, though, you lose your liquid cash.
Yeah.
So do you invest? So in other words, if you have a 5, 6, 7, 8% interest rate finance charge on interest rate on your debt, could you earn more than that in a particular investment? By the way, I took that shot on me many years ago, and guess what I found? I was a better bet. But I started a side hustle. Yeah. So the purpose of the 7-Figure Squad viewer is that people that are starting a side hustle. So I'd say keep that money and incorporate the car payment into usage into your business. Put in service that car into your business and a side hustle. Document when you put your car into service in your car. And if you read the book, Lower Your Taxes Big Time, in terms of how to properly document your car for business use, to take advantage of bonus depreciation, to take advantage of Section 179 deductions, And you can use your car, I believe it's chapter 3 or chapter 5, how to turn your car into a tax-deductible gold mine if you start a side hustle. We're going to put the link here in the description below. But watch the video also of, we talked to Sandy Bakken, the author of that book, Borrow as Least or Smartly as You Can, because when push comes to shove, cash flow is king, cash is queen, credit's just for jokers. Yeah. Okay? And so you want to make sure you leverage your credit to be your secondary form of banking. You're the first bank, but your credit is your secondary form of banking. So there's a discipline behind the process. Most times they're very aggressive. They say bank, credit, lend. They have no liquid cash. And then when push comes to shove, they have no liquid cash. They're out of it and they got to foreclose. They got to do a fire sale. They got to do an estate sale. And that's a bad type of scenario. Last topic here, which happens to a lot of players because they bought these cars. They bought these vehicles, exotic cars. And then when they're done playing, they drop their income, they drop their cash, and they gotta drop their toys. Yeah. So I know because I bought a Rolls Royce from a former NBA player when he got done playing in the league, because that was his situation. He had to get rid of his car. I bought it. He moved on with the rest of his life. I continue to use that in terms of marketing and the areas of my business. But Draymond Green, you brought this topic up. What's the premise here?
So he went on a podcast, and I think he was talking to Shaq and one or two other guys. And despite of making around $177 million throughout his NBA career, he voiced very heavily on his concern that people in the league aren't structured in a great financial way where they can actually make good money long term. And I actually have a video on that if we can pull that up, Jordan. Sorry, which? The Draymond Green voices his concern that the league's financial structure doesn't facilitate long term wealth. Yes, sir.
Fines to me don't make sense. You know, when you talk about as hard as we work to accumulate wealth, coming from situations that most people never make it out, and then you get fined the way we get fined, it's actually not set up for us to be wealthy after we're done playing. This job is not set up the way we're taxed.
Oh, California?
The way we're taxed, the way we're fined, and you hear about all these programs like this program, this program, that is to cover everybody. This program is to teach this guy this. But if I do something wrong, I lose $100,000. Man, it took my mom 4 years when I was growing up to make $100,000. And I lose that in the night because, what? The referee got mad at me, and he didn't like what I said to him. So I lose $5,000 like that, like on a tech.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about that real quick. So Shaq mentioned California, right?
Yeah.
So let's Jordan, if you can look at my screen right quick. Here's the income tax. Now, in addition to you paying your federal income tax, this is the income tax you have to pay to earn income in California. So if you look there to the bottom left of the screen, if you earn between $350 and $418, you have to pay a progressive income tax, right? Oh, yeah, but basically the bottom line is a progressive income tax all the way. But you got to pay even more tax if you make between $60,000 and $80,000 to $349. And by the way, if you look at this, what do you think they're trying to tax the most? They're trying to tax the rich the most in California.
Yeah.
And what are the rich doing in California? Are they staying or are they leaving?
They're leaving immediately. Yeah.
Okay. So if you make between $418 and $698, they tax you another 11.3% on federal income tax. If you're making $698, basically if you're a millionaire, or in this case an NBA player, you're paying 12.3%. If you're single on or married filing separately on income taxes there in the state of California. So lots of taxes there in the state of California, 12.3%. So if you had a 37.5% income tax, and you make you have to pay another 12% because you're a millionaire in California. That's what? That's 49%. 50% of what you earn as a millionaire in California, half is gone.
But okay, now would you say, based on what you've seen in your experience, would you say this is an overall every single sport or just NBA every players being affected by this, or is it just specific players? Like for example, Draymond Green, as of 2024, he's been fined approximately $2.2 million in various technical fouls and on-court altercations. Which, if you accumulate these fines, it's around 173 technical fouls and several suspensions. And from those 6 suspensions, obviously it's cost him a crap ton of money. His most recent suspension involved a 5-day game ban for an altercation with Rudy Gobert, which alone resulted in a loss of $770,000 in salary. So, is it the NBA's fault, or is it each player's and the way they choose to work within the NBA and the way they play the game?
I think I think the right answer is the last one you put up. Yeah. It's a Draymond Green issue.
Yeah.
Nobody told you to argue with the ref. Nobody told you to get in a fight with Andrew Gober. Nobody told you to get fined. You're complaining about it now because you're getting caught. You're getting complaining because they're digging in your pocket. The NBA is trying to incentivize you to behave.
To be better.
To be better and set a better example for the people that are watching the game of basketball. Yeah. The NBA. By the way, let's look at our screen here real quick. Draymond Green gets paid $22 million this year and $24 million next year in the NBA. Now, granted, they're paid as employees. Half of that has gone in taxes. Sadly, ain't it crazy?
Yeah.
But it's not like the NBA is not trying to take care of you. This is a decent, like Stephen Curry is making $51 million. And if you look at another, if you look here at our hometown Dallas players, nobody on the Dallas roster is getting paid $50 million. Luka Doncic is the 16th highest paid player in the league, the number one paid player in the Dallas Mavericks. He's making $40 million a year. Kyrie, 37. The bench player, I don't know who signed a minimum contract here. Even the bench player, Alex Fudge, I guess, 135, 212, 315, to be a bench player, to be a practice player. A.J. Dawson, all the way at the bench, $1 million a year. Jaden Hardy, 1.7. JaVale McGee. These guys, so not everybody in the NBA is making a lot of money. Let's say, 1/3 of the roster is in a $10 million and above, but everybody else in the multi-millions. By the way, not too shabby, by the way.
Yeah.
It's a blessing and an honor. In my opinion, it's a gift from above to be a professional athlete. But once you make it to the league, remember, that's not your platform. That's the NBA's platform. Yeah. That's not your platform in the NFL. It's the NFL's platform. So you have to abide by the rules of the platform that is there to maximize every bit of opportunity for everybody to make money. If you think you're so good at it, create your own league. If you think you're so good at it, create your own ways of earning income and set policies or rules and regulations that cause people to operate in a way that people long-term can make money. So that's my thoughts on your question.
How can people in the financial world help people in his world and their world, in the sports world, athletic world, to bring more awareness to their finances long-term?
Yeah, currently right now in the NBA, there's three parts to the NBA retirement plan. Number one, they get a pension. So if you do three years with the NBA, you're vested after 3 years of service, and I believe for every after 10 seasons, and you earn the maximum benefit allowed by law, which is $195. So they're able to have a pension from the NBA. The other part of that is a 401k. But the maximum you can put inside a 401k is $23,000 a year. So if you're making tens of millions of dollars a year, brother, and you can only put in $23,000 in your 401k, of course the NBA is going to match it. So take advantage of the match. I don't know how much it's going to be worth to you in terms of what your income used to be as a player versus what it's going to be when you're 59 and a half, 60 years old. But at least you can maximize the 401k. Then they have annuity that provides a monthly income after retirement until the player turns 50 years old. By the way, none of these plans, whether pension, 401k, annuity, in my opinion, is designed to replace your income as a professional athlete. You have to do that with your own personal finance, your own endorsements, your own corporations, your own investments to make sure you take care of you. So the financial literacy conversation is not being had at a college level. It's definitely not being had with these players going from high school when you're in college and then into the pros. So if you're going to take financial advice, just like I did in the military, don't take advice from the broke person in the locker room. And by the way, just because they make a lot of money doesn't mean they're rich, or in this case, wealthy. Yeah. If you have a lot more money than what you're spending, that to me is wealth. That's confidence, that's peace, that's strength, that's confidence. But if you're making $10 million a year, $20 million a year, and you're spending more than that, let's say, for example, I'm making $10 million a year, but I'm spending 12, I'm making $10 million a year, I'm spending 15, that's a bad recipe for success. If you find yourself in that type of situation, or you don't have somebody in your corner, in your entourage, that's not telling you right from wrong, then you need to find a different entourage. You need to look at the right person in the face, your boss. In this case, you. Mm-hmm. You're the boss as a professional athlete. Look yourself in the face and ask myself, what type of my lifestyle do I want to reduce after I get done playing the game? If it's 0, then you better be spending less while you're on the platform, because when you're off the platform, you better maximize. And on top of that, you need to make sure you have the right relationships on the platform before you get off the platform, because people want to get together with you and do business with you and like you, not because of you as a professional athlete. They want to appreciate you and value you and appreciate and do business with you because you are a good person, not because you're an athlete. Because after you're done, you don't want to be looked upon as a has-been. You want to be looked upon as somebody with relationships, a sincere desire, and genuine desire, an authentic person that wants to help people out. So that's what I would say to a lot of these professional athletes out there.
Case closed.
Slam dunk.
Slam dunk.
That being said, guys, the last thing I want to show you, the NBA foresees, here's the crazy part. You think the NBA is not trying to help the guys out? The NBA foresees, if you look at my screen one more time, NBA foresees that the next wave of players is going to be making $100 million annual salary. $100 million annual salary by 2029. Crazy, right?
Why do you think that is?
Well, because the league is just getting bigger and broader, and we're getting more wealthier and wealthier. And hey, salute to them. So in other words, if the cap is high, every other player, because right now the average NBA player today, if you factor in all the salaries, the average NBA player is making $10 million a year.
Yeah.
Right. Of course, the bottom line players make $1 million. The first time, by the way, in the history of the NBA, minimum income to be on an NBA roster is $1 million income. But because you get paid as an employee, half of that has gone in taxes, 3% has gone to your agent. And so you have to really be smart with your finances and don't get caught up into the entourage. We'll do a clip because I watched this clip of Michael Vick, and he was asked because, you know, obviously his career was cut short because of dogs and fighting and all that type of stuff. But Vlad was asking him a question about finances. I was asking a question about money. And Michael Vick says, I don't value money. I value respect and I value loyalty. But and that's why he has an entourage. But here's my thing. If they really respect you and they're really loyal to you, regardless if you have money or not, they should follow you. It's not because you can feed them, not because you can pay them, not because you don't help them out by just feeding them something for free. You help people by giving them some cash to start a seed capital so they can build something, they can earn something, so therefore they're not dependent upon you. If you think you're getting people to respect you and be loyal to because you pay for their bills, you pay for the food when they're around you, to me, in my opinion, that's buying friendships. And by the way, a lot of people don't understand that mentality. But at the end of the day, when you've got nothing to give them in terms of finances, how quickly will they depart from you? That's the $1 million question. That's a deeper question to be asked. That being said, guys, we had a blast today on the 7 Figure Squad podcast. Please like and share and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Make sure you visit the shop.7figuresquad.com. We just, can we show that, Jordan, one last shot here on my screen? If you go to our website here at shop.7figuresquad.com, we just launched some new slides for you to pick up for the summer, so you can show your, what do you call that again? Pedicure. You can show your pedicure. I kept calling it tonicure, but so pick up your new slides. We got a bunch of merch there too as well. We just launched a new Just Earn It merch site. So therefore, whatever color you like, we do for you. Just earn it. Don't expect it. I say just earn it, because when you earn it, you value it. That being said, guys, thanks for tuning in. On behalf of my co-host here, Milton Alvarez, I'm your mighty smart guy. Please put your comments in the comment section below. You agree with us? You don't agree with us? Please, we want to know. That being said, till we meet again, see you next Wednesday. Till we meet again, continue to live smart, continue to love smart, and be money smart today. See you next week. Bye-bye.